On the eve of the annual party, my husband Brian Carter said he had a surprise for me, the Golden Lawyer, but the next day, he publicly quintupled the marketing manager's bonus. All I got was a keep up the good work next year. When I questioned this, Brian just shrugged it off. You're indeed good at litigation, but without Megan Foster's promotion, you wouldn't have become a gold medalist. Besides, we're one as husband and wife. What's mine is yours. Why fuss over a little bonus? Everyone was waiting for a scene, but I didn't make one. Instead, I stayed silent until the annual meeting ended. The next day, I personally placed my resignation letter on Brian's desk. Add my salary to Megan's as well. Consider it a wedding gift for both of you. Brian got so angry he called me petty, cursing that without him I'd only end up begging on the streets. But he forgot, as an experienced top-tier lawyer like me, elite law firms are lining up to hire me. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Brian loosened his tie, threw his jacket onto the sofa, his face full of indifference and refusal to communicate. I rubbed my temples, feeling utterly exhausted as well. Ever since we left work, Brian and I had been arguing about today's law firm annual meeting. I couldn't understand his intention of belittling my contributions, nor could I comprehend the point of arbitrarily elevating Megan, a newcomer who hadn't been at the firm for long. Brian, however, simply thought I was being petty, unable to let go of such minor favors and still competing with Megan for them. The argument ended with neither of us willing to back down, and the atmosphere turned cold for a moment. At that moment, Brian's phone buzzed with a message notification. He pulled it out, glanced at it, and his face filled with impatience. There's an urgent matter at the law firm I need to attend to. Julia Bennett, I don't want to argue with you over such things. You're on your own. Don't forget to organize and send me the case analysis for tomorrow's work. If you insist on being so petty, there's nothing I can do. After 5 years of marriage, you're fixated on this little money. It's truly disappointing. Am I being petty? I feel utterly powerless. Brian always changes the subject during arguments, never addressing issues directly. Every time Megan is mentioned, it's just a bunch of excuses about being too busy, and most frequently, he uses the fact that we're married to accuse me of being overly nitpicky. For the next several dozen minutes, I remained speechless. Brian disliked having worked a full day and had specifically taken a shower before returning to the bedroom to change clothes. During this time, we remained silent, locked in a cold war. But life can't go on like this. Someone has to make the first move. After a moment's thought, I was about to step forward to make amends when I inadvertently caught sight of something strange. Brian was stealthily stuffing something into his suit pants. When I took a closer look, I was instantly shocked. It was actually black stockings, and I don't have this type. The words to call out to him got stuck in my throat. I couldn't say them, yet swallowing them back felt even worse. My heart suddenly sank. I couldn't help but think of Brian's changed behavior toward me over the past 6 months. There's always work to discuss, always business trips, and he's grown increasingly impatient with me. We haven't even had a marital life in a long time. At this moment, I finally realized he was having an affair. After hesitating briefly, my initial instinct was to stop him, but I paused. Suppressing the anger in my heart, I thought it might be better to use this incident as a reason to divorce him directly. After all, my marriage with Brian had long been a mere facade. With this thought, I quietly retreated from the bedroom and sat directly on the sofa, waiting. Brian emerged shortly after, looking slightly nervous. "Julia, did you just call me?" Hearing this, I looked up with a perfectly timed expression of confusion. "No, Brian," seeing nothing unusual about me, visibly relaxed and his face turned cold again. "I need to go back to the law firm now. We'll talk about the year-end bonus when I return, but I might not make it back tonight." Without waiting for my response, he eagerly rushed out the door. A few minutes later, estimating the time it would take him to drive out of the neighborhood, I put on my coat and went downstairs to hail a taxi to follow him. Brian wasn't heading towards the law firm from the moment he left home. I sneered in the car as I watched his vehicle finally come to a stop in front of the hotel. Though I couldn't enter this hotel, I could get into his car. After unlocking the car and pulling up the dashcam playback, I heard Brian just called a woman from the car, opening with "baby." Hello, Megan. Are you there? I'm almost there. It's that Julia again. I don't know what's gotten into her these past few months. Always looking for a fight. I frowned. But little did I know Brian would say something even more hurtful next. She doesn't even consider who's responsible for her success today. Now she dares to argue with me over the year-end bonus. How outrageous. I'm so angry. I need a kiss from my baby. My blood boiled as I recognized the voice on the other end of the line. Megan. No wonder she had the most achievements this year and got double the bonus. Turns out she was working overtime after hours. Brian, how could you treat me like this? Half a year ago Megan joined the company. It was already strange enough that she was parachuted in as a team leader despite having graduated just a few years prior, and her abilities were mediocre, yet Brian always allocated the best resources to her, which caused quite a bit of discontent among colleagues. Later, Megan leveraged these resources to rise to the position of marketing manager in just 6 months. From that point on, I began to have my suspicions. On the other hand, Brian showed meticulous care for her daily life, during meals and social gatherings. Most of the time I wasn't even guaranteed a seat next to Brian, but Megan could always stay by his side. It's not that I haven't protested before. But Brian kept saying she was his junior from university, a few years below him, and that it was only right to look out for her. Over the past 6 months, Brian's every business dinner and trip he didn't let me accompany him on were probably spent with Megan. In the end, I stumbled home in a daze. Sitting on the sofa, I rubbed my face. Suspicion and actual discovery feel different. At least I truly loved Brian. Even now, seeing and hearing it firsthand, I still feel heartbroken. The TV at home was airing local news about a revenge killing for one's mother. Distracted, I tossed and turned until finally falling asleep on the couch late at night. The entire dream was filled with memories of the past with Brian. We met in the workplace after graduation. At first glance, I was drawn to Brian's efficient and decisive work style. So I pursued him. After we got together, Brian opened a law firm just for me. I am deeply grateful for his recognition of my talent, and I worked tirelessly for the law firm. This went on for 6 years. Later, Brian proposed to me, and both sets of parents were extremely pleased. But I never expected that, just as the law firm was growing and thriving, and before we even reached the 7-year itch, he would already have an affair. A night of chaotic dreams caused me to be late for work the next day. Regarding this, Brian mercilessly scolded me in front of all the executives during the morning meeting. Julia, what's wrong with you? You dare to be late today after just a few words yesterday. Let me tell you, your perfect attendance bonus for this month is gone. Reflect on yourself properly. Facing the sympathetic or indifferent gazes of everyone, I simply nodded without saying much. Little did I know, this attitude made Brian think I had a bad attitude. After everyone had left, he plopped into the boss's chair, crossed his arms, and spoke to me coldly. Julia, let me tell you, don't bring your domestic behavior into the workplace. Do you think just because you're my wife you can give me attitude in front of everyone? I've always kept work and personal matters strictly separate with you. Strictly separate. I kept chewing on these words, finding them utterly laughable. So strictly separate with me. Yet last night in the car you called Megan with such tender affection, saying every sweet word imaginable. My ignoring him made Brian feel disrespected. Furious, he slammed the table and stood up. Julia, what do you think you're doing? How dare you defy me? Ignoring his roar, I turned and walked straight out of the office, went downstairs to HR, and submitted my resignation. Bennett, are you sure you want to resign? Confirmed. The HR personnel was very surprised and repeatedly questioned me, although I never publicly disclosed my relationship with Brian. Over the years, my colleagues had already guessed. At this moment, HR clearly didn't want to get involved in our domestic affairs and immediately showed a troubled expression to evade the matter. This is such a major decision that I can't make the call. Perhaps, Bennett, you should consult with Carter first. Let's hear his opinion first. My position is considered the backbone of the company, so both emotionally and logically, it's necessary to have Brian sign off on it. No need to ask. Xiao Li, just follow the official procedures. I spoke in a low voice, my tone firm. not like an impulsive decision made in a fit of anger. The HR personnel looked at me for a long moment, then could only smile wryly and agree, telling me to come back in the afternoon to collect the report. No sooner had I stepped out of HR than I was summoned to the office by Brian. When I entered, Megan was already there. Seeing me, she flashed a fake smile and said, "Julia, you're here. Perfect timing. Did you see yesterday's news about the mother who killed to avenge her child? The case has landed at our firm, and Megan fought for you to take it. Julia, if you handle this well, it could make you famous." Brian called me in, reluctantly offered a token of goodwill, and then arrogantly entrusted me with a major responsibility, defending the murderer from last night's news. I reviewed that case this morning, and from the current perspective, online public opinion has already pushed this case into the spotlight. Brian was right, doing a good job can indeed make you famous, but I just feel that Megan has ulterior motives. This kind of case is a hot potato. No matter how you defend it, you'll end up being criticized. The law is merciless. While morality appeals to emotions, the outcome of this incident, whether good or bad, will impact your career. It's like getting stained for no reason. Thinking of this, I refused on the spot. I still have several cases on hand that aren't finished. Adding a new one would be too much. I can't take it. Find someone else. Julia, Attorney Bennett, what's the matter? Have you started looking down on such cases after achieving some success these years? When opportunities come knocking, you don't even seize them. What are you thinking? Brian wore a mocking expression, his words cutting to the bone. Nearby, Megan, seeing this, chimed in with what seemed like persuasion. "Julia, handling this case well would only benefit our firm. Please reconsider. Think about Carter and the long-term future of the firm. Since this case has come to us and I've worked hard to secure it, it's only right that someone in the company takes it on. As things stand, Julia, you're the most suitable for this kind of case." I frowned, ignoring her emotional blackmail, and was just about to speak when Brian's phone rang. "Hello, Xiao Li, what's up? Her, who's resigning?" Brian froze for a few seconds, his expression turning extremely grim within those few words. After hanging up, he looked at me in disbelief. "Julia, you're resigning? Just because I said a few words to you this morning?" He stood up and flew into a rage at me, absolutely furious, outwardly unfazed. I leaned in slowly against the table, curled my lips slightly, and spoke calmly. "Brian, I'm not just quitting my job, I'm divorcing you." Brian met my gaze directly, utterly stunned this time. "Julia, you're divorcing me over yesterday's year-end bonus and today's incident? That's ridiculous. How can a professional woman like you resort to such childish drama? This is pure nonsense." Brian still couldn't believe it under my gaze, but instinctively took a step back. Megan quickly flashed a hint of delight upon seeing me like this, then feigned concession and remorse. "Julia, calm down. Here's what, I'll give you all of yesterday's year-end bonus money. Don't let this sour your relationship with Carter. Divorce isn't something to decide lightly." Her words only made things worse, prompting Brian to compare me unfavorably to Megan again. "Julia, how can you have the nerve, making a junior give up their money for you, after all these years in the workplace? You're still less mature than her, throwing a childish tantrum at your age." Megan heard this, her eyes brimming with pride, but I remained indifferent, no matter how much Brian provoked me. I stood my ground. "Enough, Brian, it's pointless. No one can talk me out of resigning or divorcing." Brian heard this, closed his eyes briefly, suppressing his anger. Fine, Julia, you're determined to defy me, aren't you? All right, I'll reinstate yesterday's year-end bonus for you. Next year, I'll find you a promotion opportunity. Happy now? Satisfied? Isn't this what you wanted?" "I don't want any year-end bonus, nor a promotion. For the last time, I repeat, Brian, I'm resigning. And I'm divorcing." I couldn't help but let some anger seep into my refusal, then slammed the table hard, startling Brian. After this back-and-forth exchange, it finally exhausted all of Brian's patience. He stared at me deeply for a long moment before pointing at the door and roaring, "Julia, don't you dare push your luck here. Fine, if you want to leave, then leave. The law firm can keep running without you. What are you so smug about?" I'd been waiting for these exact words. Without another word, I walked out of the office, packed up my workstation, and prepared to leave. Brian started panting with anger in my office the moment he heard I was packing up, never expecting me to have such guts. My colleagues buzzed with whispers as they watched me leave. "Bennett, are you really leaving? Oh dear, there's been a conflict." She was already upset about yesterday's annual bonus, and after this morning's incident, she must have argued with Carter. Aren't they married? Could it be they're getting divorced? Is it because of Megan? She's always following Carter around. I paused while packing my things, unable to suppress a bitter smile. Even they could sense something off between Brian and Megan, even vaguely guessing that I'd left and divorced. Yet Brian still thought I was just throwing a tantrum. In the end, carrying a cardboard box, I walked out of the company under Brian's furious glare without looking back. After returning home, I drafted the divorce agreement and placed it on the coffee table, then prepared to leave with the belongings I had already packed. Over these 6 years, I have done nothing to let down Brian. After being deeply hurt by him yesterday, I now feel completely numb inside. Carrying my suitcase, I took one last look at this home and closed the door decisively. With nowhere else to go for the time being, I had no choice but to head to my good friend Wang Xin's place. "Busy Bee, finally got you here, come on in. Today, us sisters won't stop until we're drunk." Their family warmly welcomed me, and Wang Xin's concern for me after hearing about these matters, along with her resentment towards Brian, only made me feel more certain that leaving Brian was the right decision. But Brian wasn't planning to let me off so easily. Later that day, he called and started with an accusatory question. "Julia, what's the meaning of this divorce agreement on the coffee table?" "It means exactly what it says." I coldly spat out these words, too lazy to say more, feeling it was meaningless. Brian was clearly indignant. "Julia, have I spoiled you too much these past few years? First resigning today, and now a divorce agreement. What exactly are you trying to pull?" Before I could respond, he continued his endless tirade. "Ask yourself, haven't I been good enough to you? All these years, have I ever failed to provide for your basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, or transportation? And now you want to leave over a mere money issue? How absurd. Do you really think your achievements over these years give you leverage over me? Julia, let me tell you, if you come back now, I might still forgive your mistakes. Otherwise, I refuse." His words throbbed dully at my temples, and I cut him off without hesitation. Brian spoke with such righteous indignation, yet he seemed to have forgotten who it was that tirelessly took on case after case day and night when the company was first established, building its reputation through one legal battle after another. During the toughest times, when the law firm couldn't make ends meet, it was me who drank my way through one social gathering after another to secure the funds. He did indeed recognize my talent and gave me opportunities, but the subsequent success and growth of the law firm were directly tied to my efforts. Now he has forgotten his original intentions. "Brian, you know perfectly well why I'm divorcing you." "What?" Brian still actually thinks I'm doing this because of unfair treatment at work. I find it laughable, and my voice can't help but sound bitter. "Brian, don't think I don't know anything. Getting divorced now at least preserves our last shred of dignity. Ever since Megan came, all those business trips of yours, those nights out when you didn't come home, you know exactly what you were doing. Do I need to name the hotels too? I don't know what you're talking about." Brian sounded slightly flustered but remained defiant. However, he forgot I'm a lawyer. I wouldn't say these things without solid evidence. Let's start with the most recent incident. Last night, Hanting Hotel, 23rd floor. Need I say more, or should I also mention how you called her baby? During that phone call, on the other end of the line, Brian fell silent at these words. I sighed wearily, exhausted by having to spell everything out before he'd relent. "Sign the divorce papers as soon as possible. Brian, let's end it here." For a long time, Brian didn't speak. It lasted so long that I thought he was about to hang up when he finally spoke, barely maintaining his composure. "Julia, now that you're getting divorced and have quit your job, how will you manage your life? At your age, over 30 and a woman, which company would still hire you? They all want younger employees." "Yes, so you also chose the younger Megan." I let out a cold laugh, unwilling to continue the conversation with him. Finding it utterly unreasonable, I simply hung up the phone. Wang Xin, who had been listening nearby for a while, was also furious on my behalf. What is he doing? How come I never noticed he was like this when we got married? How could he change so much over the years? This is simply too much. After calming my friend down for quite some time, I went back to the bedroom to wash up and go to sleep. Late at night, Brian sent me a text message. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Brian was dressed impeccably when we met at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, even though he had made a special effort to dress formally, looking every bit the elite professional. I could still see the dark circles under his eyes. However, I didn't pay much attention to what had kept him up the night before. Without another word, the two of us went straight in. The entire process went smoothly, and we got the certificate that very afternoon. After the smooth divorce, I looked at Brian and noticed his expression wasn't as relieved or disgusted as I'd imagined. Instead, he seemed somewhat dazed. I had no time to dwell on why he suddenly agreed. Perhaps his patience with me had run out, or maybe he'd spent last night with Megan after all. No matter what, as long as we can get divorced, that's all that matters. When leaving, Brian and Megan came to pick me up. Megan was also wearing a white bodycon dress, making it seem like they were about to get married in the afternoon. Seeing that we were divorced, she didn't bother pretending anymore, her face full of smugness. Julia, if you let Brian slip away, you'll regret it. To this, I couldn't be bothered to say another word. Brian's eyes held an indescribable complexity. Just as he was about to call out to me, I walked away without looking back. Attorney Bennett, is that you? Bennett, I had just stepped out of the Civil Affairs Bureau when someone stopped me. Taking a closer look, the face seemed familiar, and after a moment of recollection, I realized it was actually President Liu. Liu Yu, the owner of another popular law firm in the city, warmly shook my hand, his tone brimming with joy. It really is you, Bennett attorney. President Liu. I felt somewhat baffled, but still politely smiled and shook hands, after exchanging a few pleasantries. He invited me to the restaurant next door. I know my sudden visit might seem abrupt, but I only recently heard about Bennett Law's resignation and couldn't wait to come see you. Manager Liu poured me a drink. He seemed like a straightforward person. Manager Liu, what are you? I took the wine glass, vaguely guessing his intentions. After clinking glasses, I spoke with a smile. President Liu, if you have something to say, just say it. You didn't come all this way just to drink, did you? Upon hearing this, President Liu burst into laughter and dropped the formalities. Turns out he had heard about my divorce and resignation and came to poach me, while also mocking Brian for not recognizing talent. I could only smile bitterly. Brian didn't study law, but he opened a law firm for my sake. I'm grateful for that. But over these years, I've repaid everything I could. My conscience is clear. Over the past 6 months, with the appearance of Megan, Brian has increasingly felt that my role is less important than Megan's. He has no idea how in demand I am out there. In the legal profession, the longer your experience, the more valuable you become. I promptly signed the contract with President Liu, agreed on the reporting time, left my friend's house that same day, rented a new place, and began what could be considered a vacation in another sense, maintain a regular daily routine and cultivate previous hobbies. Now that I've escaped the hectic workplace of the past, I finally have time to consider what I truly enjoy, and both my body and mind have relaxed. But before long, an unfamiliar local number called. Puzzled, I answered, only to find it was Brian. He hesitated for a moment before speaking. Julia, could you come back and help me with a lawsuit? What? I frowned, not understanding why he was calling me in the middle of the night. Brian remained silent for a long moment before speaking again. Do you remember that case about avenging a mother on the day you left? Something's gone wrong now. As I listened to him continue, everything suddenly became clear to me. It turned out to be the previous case of killing for one's mother, which was ultimately taken on by Megan. Due to her lack of expertise and rigid adherence to protocol, she was criticized after the trial, and the boy she defended was sentenced. Now, the trial video has been uploaded online, causing an uproar. Everyone is shocked by how cold-blooded and bureaucratic Megan was, accusing her of being unscrupulous for money. For a time, The law firm's official account was bombarded, and the defendant filed an appeal. Preparing for a second trial, Brian wanted to salvage the company's reputation. Probably because no other lawyers were willing to take the case, he had no choice but to come to me. That's how things stand, Julia. The public opinion has reached a point where even PR can't suppress it anymore. If you can just come back, return to the law firm, we'll let bygones be bygones. As he spoke, there was an unintentional tone of entitlement in his words. Even though he was asking for my help, coming from Brian's mouth, it sounded more like charity. I refuse, pinching the bridge of my nose. I spoke my refusal. At this point, Brian still thinks the conditions he offered are attractive to me. But in reality, I couldn't care less, whether it's his law firm or the salary package he's proposing. None of it appeals to me anymore. I hope you'll seriously consider this, Julia. I've already reached out to all the top-tier law firms in the circle. Right now, apart from me, no other firm would be willing to take you in, unless you're prepared to start over in a different city. Brian spoke through gritted teeth, his tone inadvertently laced with a hint of threat. Are you really willing to give up all the connections and resources you've built here over the years? Don't throw away your future like this for nothing. Hearing this, a strange expression immediately appeared on my face. Really, are you sure you greeted everyone? Then how do you explain the employment contract I signed with Manager Liu the other day? As I spoke, I took out the contract again to look at it and couldn't help but laugh. Manager Liu? Which Manager Liu? Brian didn't realize who Manager Liu was and asked again, Liu Yu? I mentioned a name well known throughout the city's legal circles, a law firm several times larger than Brian's practice. Liu Yu. Brian was utterly incredulous upon learning I already had another offer, his voice cracking as he spoke. I didn't want to waste any more words on the matter. Brian, I refuse to help you. Go find someone else to handle this matter. Your law firm has nothing to do with me anymore, and neither do you. Don't bother me again. After that, I experienced a relatively peaceful period of life, and the contract reporting time quietly approached. On the day I went to complete the onboarding procedures and report to General Manager Liu's office, I unexpectedly saw Brian in the company office. General Manager Liu, this is completely unreasonable. Didn't we all agree at the dinner table that no one in the entire Red Circle would accept Julia's resume? We agreed on a joint boycott, yet you're making moves behind our backs. Brian leaned on the table, venting his frustration at Director Liu in a fit of anger. Director Liu glanced at him, took a leisurely sip of tea, and brushed it off with a laugh. Oh, little Carter, you can't take drinking table talk seriously. Everyone has an eye for talent, and besides, Bennett's capabilities over the years have been clear to all. Now that she's resigned, apart from me, there are plenty of law firms eager to have her. Brian took a deep breath, suppressing his discontent. Even so, only President Liu here has taken action. Hearing this, President Liu's expression immediately darkened, clearly displeased with Brian, the newly promoted young boss from the Red Circle. What kind of talk is that? Do you think what you've done, little Carter, is fair? To me, it seems rather petty. The other bosses have only been giving you face because your company's performance has been decent these past 2 years. Cutting off someone's livelihood over personal feelings, honestly, it's embarrassing to even mention. Brian turned pale and then flushed with anger, clearly starting to lose his temper. Director Liu's face lit up with joy when he saw me entering the room. Bennett is here. Please, have a seat, little Carter. I have to say, Bennett is such a wonderful girl. How could things have turned out like this? Brian also noticed me following Director Liu's gaze and quickly stood up, eager to explain himself. Julia, when did you get here? So you heard everything just now. I can explain. I didn't mean any of it. I just wanted you to come back. I didn't do it on purpose. I just wanted you to return. After all, it's just how things are at the dinner table. Looking at him, I let out a cold laugh, neither confirming nor denying. Those who run law firms are all shrewd people. How could they not understand the underlying meaning of his joke at the dinner table? And indeed, they acted accordingly, not proactively extending an olive branch to me. However, it's impossible to tell which of them were sincere and which were feigning. Only by submitting my resume would I find out. It's just that I find it very strange why, when I was still there, Brian didn't treat me this way, only starting to look for me after I left. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but voice my question. Brian hesitated for a moment before speaking. After you left, the other lawyers in the firm became difficult to manage. Now there's no one at home to help or lend a hand. The firm's performance has declined, and with that case coming up, Julia, I need you. The firm needs you, so that's why you're treating me like this. Because you need me now and want me back. I nodded, pulling at the corner of my mouth and laughing knowingly. Brian, seeing my expression, quickly explained, yes. And I miss you too. Megan was just a tool to relieve my boredom. I truly know I was wrong. I can make up for all the ways I've failed you before. Julia, you can set any conditions you want. Now that things have come to this point, I can't help but laugh. Now Brian law firm's lead attorneys were all personally recruited and trained by me originally. Of course they're discontent after I left, let alone expect Megan, who's only been in the workforce for a few years, to lead them. She's just average but got this position. How could those Ivy League graduates truly respect her? Julia, can't you stop being so stubborn? After that, no matter how eloquently Brian tried to persuade me, I firmly refused. Save your energy for Megan, and stop disturbing my life. I stood up to leave the office. President Liu, who had been sitting nearby, had already found an excuse to go downstairs earlier. Brian saw that I was leaving and immediately became upset. His eyes turning red as he spoke with a choked voice. Julia, our 6 years of love, 5 years of marriage. Do you still love me or not? No, I don't. I didn't wait for him to finish before cutting him off. Brian let a stream of tears fall down his face before finally turning and leaving. That very day, I received Megan's phone call. Julia, you're already divorced. Why do you still have to upset Brian? You just love being a lingering nuisance, don't you? On the other end of the line, Megan shouted angrily, bombarding me with accusations. Have you no shame? Playing hard to get with those tactics? What kind of person even are you? I moved the phone slightly away from my ear, feeling only deafening noise, unbearably loud. Megan, stop it. Megan ranted for a long time until Brian's voice intervened to stop her. I heard the phone drop to the ground with a sharp clatter, followed by Brian and Megan arguing. Brian, am I wrong to scold her? She treated you like this. What on earth can't you let go of? You're already divorced. Megan's angry roar came through the receiver, and I was stunned, never expecting them to argue because of me. What does it have to do with you? You're not worthy of mentioning Julia's name. Know your place and stick to your own business. Don't flatter yourself too much. Brian's voice was icy, but Megan couldn't believe her status in Brian's heart had fallen so low now. Brian, you're talking to me like this for her sake now. Before, you said she was no good, that if you ever got tired of her, you'd definitely be with me first. Were all those words just, of course it was all a lie? Did you actually believe it? Past promises. Brian no longer acknowledged them, coldly cutting off Megan's words. Megan shouted in disbelief and anger. Then what am I supposed to be? A mistress? A lover? What else could you possibly be? The argument between the two escalated until they had a complete falling out on the spot. Megan slammed the door and left, her last words to Brian being, "You'll regret this." Brian was unfazed. Just a few minutes later, Brian picked up the phone that had fallen on the floor. "Julia, are you still there?" "Here," I responded, thoroughly enjoying their dog-eat-dog argument. Brian mistakenly thought I was still giving him a chance. "See, I've already cut ties with Megan. I hope you'll come back. I truly know I was wrong." Listening to the hope in his tone, I still refused without hesitation. "Brian, how many times do I have to say it? I refuse. We're already divorced, and there's no way I'm going back. How can you be so heartless? What did our 6 years together even mean to you?" Facing his choked accusation, I replied emotionlessly in a low voice, "You realized your mistake too late. From the moment you cheated, I could never forgive you." With that, I hung up the phone, blocked all their numbers, and focused intently on continuing my work. For a while after that, the new job progressed smoothly, and during that time I won several lawsuits. Manager Liu said that with this performance, I would be promoted next year. My life gradually returned to calm, until one day, I received a call from the police. It was Brian, who wanted me to be his defense attorney. Through the police, I also learned the whole story of this incident. After the last quarrel, Brian and Meghan didn't really break up, but Meghan took the initiative to reconcile, and they got back together. In the following months, Brian's law firm lost a lot of money due to poor operations, and the departure of most lawyers made matters worse. The impact of the last case grew like a snowball, rolling bigger and bigger, pushing his law firm into a deeper abyss. Brian went through an extremely stressful period and looked terribly haggard. It was during this time that Meghan chose to betray him, but when she was secretly transferring assets to flee, she was Brian discovered. Brian saw that Meghan was like this too, and immediately went crazy. The two got into a heated argument on the spot. During the heated argument, Brian likely lost his rationality and impulsively grabbed a pair of scissors nearby, stabbing them into Meghan's chest. Everything happened too quickly. By the time the company employees started screaming to call the police and an ambulance, Meghan was already bleeding profusely. In the end, Meghan succumbed to her injuries despite rescue efforts. And Brian was taken away by the police. It wasn't until Meghan's husband filed a lawsuit that Brian realized the person who had been by his side was married. Filled with regret, he then thought of me, Julia, for the sake of our past relationship. Help me out, just insist that I acted in self-defense and that it was excessive defense that led to this, not some premeditated murder. In the courtroom, looking at the hopeful face of Brian, I recalled what he had said to me before the trial. Without meeting his gaze for long, I lowered my head to continue reviewing the documents. Throughout the defense, though my expression remained impassive, I still did my best to help Brian get a reduced sentence. This made him think I still had feelings for him. Several times he tried to strike up a conversation, only to be choked off by my indifferent attitude. I just couldn't bring myself to completely ignore the moral boundaries I hold dear, but neither could I twist right and wrong to fully comply with what he wanted. In the end, through surveillance footage, the opposing defense attorney still concluded he was the aggressor. Ultimately, I lost the case, and what awaited Brian was a brutal punishment. Brian only then came to his senses and, under the watchful eyes of many, confessed to me once again. He looked gaunt and disheveled at this moment, his entire appearance haggard and worn. Seeing that I was about to leave, he hurriedly spoke up. "Julia, where are you going? Don't leave, please don't go. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I beg you, don't go. I'll never, never dare again." Brian shouted like this, seemingly trying to chase after me, but was quickly restrained by the police nearby. He struggled violently, eventually subdued by force, and cried out in pain, unable to catch up to me anymore. I didn't need his apology, striding forward without looking back. "The work isn't finished yet. The plants at home haven't been watered. This is just another ordinary day of mine. It's time to forget the past and start a new life." Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.